We would like to welcome our speaker, Pallavi Sharma. Pallavi Sharma is founder of Five Elements Learning. She would be delivering an interactive talk session on From Flaky to Fixed, a design thinking framework for common test automation challenges. To know more about Pallavi, please check the given link below. Handing over to you, Pallavi. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashita. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Hi, Harpreet. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. Good to see you, Pallavi, again. Yeah,
Same here, same here. And thank you, Piyush. I hope you all are having a great conference. And this is the day two of our global testing conference, and we are in the 10th edition. I hope all of you are having a good time listening to speakers and all the talks. So, thank you for having me, and I will start sharing my presentation. Please let me know if you can see my presentation.
Yes, we can.
yes,
Okay, thank you so much. So, shall we begin? Okay. So, a very good afternoon to all of you, and good morning or good evening, depending upon the time zone you're joining us from. First of all, thank you very much for joining the 10th edition of the Global Testing Retreat Conference from Agile Testing Alliance. Hi everyone, my name is Pallavi Sharma and I'm the speaker for this slot. The topic I'm going to talk about right now is From Flaky to Fixed, a design thinking framework for common test automation challenges. Before I jump on to the topic, a brief introduction about me. Like I said, my name is Pallavi Sharma. I'm a founder at Five Elements Learning and Mosaic Words, which is a green literature publishing company. And Five Elements Learning is a edtech platform where I basically coach and train people on the concepts of test automation and primarily using open source solutions. Before that, I worked with various organizations and worked in the field of test automation for the longest time now, 18 years. I'm also a committer to the Selenium project. And here I am. I've been associated with Agile Testing Alliance since 2018. So it's like a second home to me. So coming here and talking is always a pleasure. And thank you so much to the jury and the teams working behind this conference for past many months for getting it all together. And thank you all the attendees for joining us today. So, before we start with this particular topic about design thinking framework and common test automation challenges, as we all are aware that there has been a lot of discussions about test automation, and with now AI coming into picture, about the tools, about the processes, about the concepts, and I sometimes see a lot of noise trying to solve the same problems over and over again, which we have been solving a decade ago or a decade ago, but the problems and the noise remains the same. So my thought of bringing this talk together is to basically try to shift our mindset to understand through the perspective of design thinking, how can we approach the problem of automating our testing. And I hope through this talk, we can get some ideas back to our workforce, our projects which we are doing, and maybe try and find out what exactly we can do to improve what we currently have instead of just jumping on and changing the technology and tools and thinking that this will solve the problem, which generally isn't true. So let's try to understand what is design thinking. So design thinking is a concept, pretty old concept, I would say, that which basically talks about then whenever you're trying to create a solution to a problem, you have to apply the five principles of design thinking. The first one being empathizing with the end user. What exactly is the pain behind which the user is looking at the story? And we have to empathize with the end user when we are trying to understand the solution we are trying to build for the person. Or uh, in our case, it could be the business users or the testing team in general who would be using our solution. We need to then define it clearly. What is the definition of the problem statement we are looking at it? We need to then ideate it, discuss it, talk amongst ourselves, prototype it, build a proof of concept, test that concept, and then implement it. So we have to try and achieve all these steps in place and try and approach the problem we are solving from the perspective of design thinking. Now, like I said, empathy is the first step, and without empathizing with your end user, the one who would be using your test automation solution which you are trying to build, not today, but for tomorrow, for day after tomorrow, for years to come, you have to first understand what is exactly the organization is looking at. You have to define it, collect the data, collect all the ideas from your end users, from your organization, from all the stakeholders. The stakeholders for your test automation project is also your development team, your management, the people who would actually be using those solutions, even if it is you yourself who is going to use the solution you are building. We need to then ideate the process of generating ideas, build a prototype, test it, and implement it. Now, design thinking basically also matches very nicely with the Four Noble Truths which were taught by Gautam Buddha. The first being dukkha, in which we say is empathize. Empathize the suffering. Then you try to find the root cause of that suffering. What is samudaya? You analyze the suffering, so you define and ideate through Nirodha. You try to find a solution to those suffering, and then you start working on that solution, which means you are basically implementing with right action and right knowledge, and you're not just creating something over the whim. Now, when we talk about automation, we all are well aware that automation refers to the use of technology and machinery to perform some task without human intervention. We want to reduce the the need for the human to be in the loop, to streamline operation, to reduce manual labor, increase efficiency, achieve efficient time management, and for all those things, we try and automate the process of software testing, which is the process of validating and verifying whether the software which is being built is functionally, through performance, through reliability, is functionally working the way we expect it to build, and it is solving what we want it to solve without any glitches in place. Now, when we try to look at from the as an automation engineers or architects perspective, there are a lot of variable factors which we have to take into considerations. Obviously, there is an application under test which is continuously being created as we are testing it. There is an expertise which your testing team has, the skills your testers have, or your SDETs have, or your team has. There is obviously a need for the test environment, how much budget you have. A lot of organization and companies go for open source solutions and try to build solutions around it. One of the major costs is definitely budget. We want to reduce the cost of the expertise or the product we are building for our test automation. What is the scope of testing? What is that you are actually wanting to achieve? And who would be the end users? I remember we were once involved in solving a test automation problem for an organization who were working on mobile commerce. And at the end of the day, the solution which we built were basically being used by the development team. They got the solution inside their pipeline, and they used to run the test scenarios which we had created for them to also feel the confidence that what they have built is done right. When you look at the process of automation and software testing, there are a lot of various components which can be automated. Keeping in mind that the expertise of human who is aware of the business, who is an excellent tester, that expertise cannot be automated. So the need for exploratory testing, the need for testing by the human would always remain. The need for the tester would always remain. You would not be able to completely automate the expertise yet. Although coming down the line, I'm not sure how much of that could also be automated. That is for all to see. But a lot of components in your test design process can be automated easily. Your data generation, your logs, your monitoring of the performance, checking of your results, the CI/CD pipeline, all of these things could be automated. But can one automation solution which you have built, someone had built, someone is building and talking more about it, can that one size fit all? No, it cannot. It is just not possible. So this slide basically shows that these are different animals and they are basically going to a store to buy a tail for themselves. And as we all know and can look, they don't all have the same tails. They cannot have the same tails. They're supposed to have it different based upon their body, their build, and the need for the tail to be there in their body. So we cannot think of that one size fits all. So if uh, Selenium was the de facto tool of choice for web automation if you are working with open source solutions, and now you have multiple players in the market. You have Cypress, you have Playwright, you have Puppeteer. There was a tool which came, Protractor, but no longer is there. Um, so there are multiple tools and solutions which are out available, and at the same time, there are multiple now commercial tools. That time also those were available, talking a decade back. Now also, which are empowered with AI for like solutions like now a lot of even companies which provide us the cloud setup to run our test on cloud, like Browser Stack, Lambda Test. They have also come up with their own solutions or browsers to help and support testers. Companies like TestRigger and many such similar companies are working and providing us all the features of out of the box products with their self-healing capabilities and lot of other things which they have said that they have taken care of. So before we select what is that, what would be the best tool or the technology which we should have, we have to again go back to the principles of design thinking to understand that whose problem we are solving, what exactly we are trying to solve, how do we achieve it? For that, we have to prototype. Have we built it right? So we test it. And finally, when all of this is clear, we are able to basically automate it or implement it. Now, when we look at some of the, challenges which a lot of similar teams can face, you can tell me your challenges which you are facing. We are basically narrowing down right now to automation of web applications, although I can try and broaden the perspective, but let's just keep it there. So, a lot of times we come across the problems of timing issues or elements not being found, or the tests were running just yesterday, but now the build is failing because the object is there, but the application is not performing a click on it. There could be reasons of data being changed, the locator information being changed. So there is dynamic content and we are not able to solve it. The environment itself in which we are, running the test is not an isolated environment. The browser's versions have changed or the drivers have changed, and that could be the reason our test is failing. So there could be a lot of reasons for which the failure has occurred. It's important that we try and understand and analyze why that failure is happening. For that, we can use the principles of five whys. The principles of five whys were basically created by Sakchi Toyoda, who is the founder of Toyota Industries, and he created this five whys approach, which a lot of organizations use to solve. And it's a problem solving tool which we can also implement to solve our problems. It basically encourages users to keep on asking why till we reach the root cause of the problem. And with this, we are able to bring structure to our problem solving, just not acting on a whim or, quickly disregarding, oh, this is happening because it would be the tool's fault or because it's the fault of the way the locator is created or whatever. Try to get to the root cause of the problem so that the problem is solved for good. So instead of changing the components of how you are trying to solve the problem. Let's try to solve it in the right process. So don't just quickly jump to change the, components. Let's change this, let's change that. Let's try to see if we have ourselves use those components in the right manner, and is our approach to using those tools, technologies, or building solution around it is done in the right manner. For that, it is important that we try and debug the problem which are faced. So let's try to do a 5 why for a very simple exercise that let's say what happened was that you paid fine. Now, why did you paid fine? So you are a student going to the college and you came in late. So you had to pay fine. So what happened? You paid fine. Why did you pay fine? Because you were late to the class. Why were you late? Because you got up late. Why you got up late? Because the alarm did not go off. Why did not the clock raise the alarm? It is supposed to do it. Well, because batteries were over. So now when you kept on, going down, and you came down to the reason that you had to pay fine is basically linked to that the clock batteries were not working. So that's why you had to pay a fine. Let's try to do again for another problem. Let's say a batch of car doors has a poor paint finish. The question arises, why do the car doors have a poor paint finish? It says the paint was not applied evenly. Question arises, why the paint was not applied evenly? The spray gun was malfunctioning. Why? Because the gun was clogged. Why? Because the paint used was too thick, the liquid used was too thick. And why? Because the standard procedure to, preparation of paint were not followed. So you came down to this analysis. You did not just jump, oh, the let's change the spray gun or let's buy it from another manufacturer. You try to go down to find out that, so what would have happened if we would have just been at step 3? You would have ordered the spray gun from another manufacturer, but came down to the same problem again, because the actual reason for you to not find or you to find a poor paint finish was because the procedure to create that paint itself was incorrect. So that could be one thing. So let's try to see. I'll just open it for a quick discussion since our time is less. But let's try to just do a very quick discussion on. I'll take a generic problem and then we will pick an automation problem. So most of us now live in societies, right? We have, this collective way of living, or even if you are, let's say you can assume that you are living in a collective way of living. And let's say one fine day you got up and there is no water in your house. The question arises, why there is no water in the house? Whoever wants to participate can just start typing their reasons. Or if you want to talk, you can unmute yourself and talk, if that's okay. Go ahead. Let's try to make it interactive.
Supply did not come, that's why there is no water.
Okay, so
That
the
is one level.
supply. Okay, so now when we do that, we can also see that we can go down to different ways of, thought processes, because you may think something else, I can say
Right.
something else, but maybe we can, go down back. So like someone says consumption, right? Or leakage. So let's say there is no water in the house. So Harpreet says that the supply did not come. So the question arises, why the supply did not come? Next could be, so let's say the supply did not come because there was overconsumption because of the previous day. Why was there overconsumption because of the previous day? Because previous day was, let's say, Chhat Puja, and everybody needed water, so they used and they filled their swimming pools, and that's why there was overconsumption. So the question arises, why people need water for Chhat Puja. So let's say because that's the tradition and that's what they need. Okay. So now the question comes, what could you do about it? Will that happen frequently? No. It's a one-time incident. So maybe people can collectively think that, okay, whenever there is a festival coming where we require a lot of water, as a society we can collectively hire some local tankers to get water for that day and not use our society's consumption from the government, because it's a one time event, and those who are celebrating the festival or the entire society can come forward and collectively do it. So that is one way of looking at it. Now let's try to come to a problem of that there is a flakiness in the test, or uh, the test all tests failed wherever they were passing yesterday because there was a weight issue. Now the question comes, why is there a synchronization issue in the application? Can anyone just participate here? Why do you think there is a flakiness problem in our test?
And we have someone from the audience.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
So let's say there is a flakiness problem in the application. So why did not the test was success? The test wasn't success because there was a synchronization problem. Why was there a synchronization problem? The script did not wait enough for the object to be loaded in the application. The question now arises, why was the application slow? Now, like Deepti is answering, so there is network problem. The question is then why the network is slow, or let's say why the application is slow. So the problem could come that the query took a long time for that flow, so that application became slow and whatever was supposed to be loaded did not load. The next question comes, why did the query took such a long time? Well, let's go back and look at the query. Maybe it's a nested query in the application, and actually, it is not a functional problem. You came down to find out that it is a performance problem. Okay, with the help of your performance engineers, your mindset, your understanding that whatever SQL query or database query which was written to fetch, or let's say the database itself was down. Okay, the connection didn't happen. But sometimes what we do is we say that it is the tool's fault, is the way it is actually flakiness in our test. What if it's the flakiness? It's not the flakiness of your test, but it is actually a performance problem in your application, and it happens under certain circumstances whenever there is extra load or whatever. So with the help of this thought process, you can find out the root cause of what exactly or what could be the problem statement, instead of just this is a problem of functional testing team, or the locator is not found, this is a known problem with this open source solution, etc., etc. And there could be multiple reasons. Now what would happen if we try to bring the analogy of that poor paint? We would have at step 3 decided, let's change the tool, right? Let's change the manufacturer, let's change the tool. People report that if you use a certain tool, or let's go and spend some dollars and get this commercial product in place for automating hours. Let's not go to open source at all. Yeah, जो team whatever whoever were learning Java, move to JavaScript. Let's forget, change the programming language itself which you were using to build your test. JavaScript is more compatible. Tools with JavaScripts are more compatible. Let's do that. It happens. We have all seen it happening. I have seen it happening. Um, so the problem at step 5, which was found out for us also, would come again. We would change the tech stack, we would change the tools, and we would again observe the same problem, because the root cause that the poor paint preparation was there for us. It was actually a performance problem with our application, would still remain. We have not solved it. Okay, so the thought is that we should try and do that. Now, we are all aware that the tool landscape is immense. You're trying to automate for web or mobile or API for database, yes, solution, it's immense. It's also important that whichever tools we are picking from each of these landscapes should be compatible with each other. If the tools itself or that tool ecosystem doesn't allow communication to happen, what would you do? Uh, you will again, go back into building some random solutions to come out of it. Instead of that, if you could have spent some time and figured that do you have a tool which has a better ecosystem to cover within their own tech stack, or even if you're looking for a commercial product, do they have a better ecosystem to help us solve all the needs which we might have for our automation? So that is something you can think about it. So when you're trying to identify the right test automation strategy, it's important that your tool selection should be uh, from the perspective of understanding what all are your needs, what all are your requirements. Uh, do we have to also automate for mobile? Are there web services also involved in here? Would we be using our own local infrastructure to manage the test automation lab, the browsers or drivers? Or are we going to buy it from, or are we going to ourselves do it over a cloud, or, get in from these cloud vendors? So it's important that we have an understanding. We also have to try and shift our mindset of from scripting to coding to building a product. Test automation solution is a development project. It's a development problem. It's not a testing problem. You are trying to build a product to test a product at hand. What you are creating is the product itself. So we have to shift our mindset that we are not generating lot of scripts, lot of code, and then we are trying to, just automate it right now, and it is not maintainable. It would fail. So we have to go towards the mindset of building a product. I've seen test automation solutions which are built over only record and playback. They have they have a good, let's say, a commercial record and playback tool, or even a open source one, and they use it, and they have more than 100 test cases where they have just recorded and they play back their scenarios. Most of us now know that this is not scalable, not even maintainable, but it works for them. So, like I said, one size fits all mentality or thought process we might have to shift. Maybe it's a small website, and maybe the investment of getting all those architecture design patterns, databases, everything in place just doesn't work for them. They don't have, let's say, a mobile interface, or there are no web services involved. It's just a very simple 2 3 pages website. Maybe that's okay for them. So you have to also try and think from the perspective of, if you are trying to automate your test process, what all would you be automating? What's the scope of that automation? Not from uh, today's thought, but from tomorrow's thought as well. Now, whenever you try and think, you can implement the same thought process whether you are trying to build your own or you are trying to buy. You can have the same benefit drawback comparison, same design thinking principle, same why approaches, where you basically try and reason whether you want to build or you want to buy it from the market. So you can apply the same principles here. Now, if I talk about trying to, get the AI into picture, build agents for your test automation process, we are all pretty much aware now that creating this test agents for our processes, again, if I go back to the slide of, you know, the concept where we saw the process of test automation, there are a lot of places where you can build agents to get AI into picture of your test automation. It's very much doable. A lot of organizations have started doing it, and it's just it would just become pretty much natural to all of us having it. You have a test case repository, there is a planner in place, there is an executor, there are logs, there is an ability of self healing in this, and self learning as well, where it can go back and feed itself, and all these work. And you can also have the human in the loop to, based upon, let's say, there is some observability or some logs which are available, they can go back and change and tweak some things. All this is doable. Having said that, it's important that our process, which we are trying to agentize, should not be broken, because what AI would do is it will basically expose it and amplify the chaos. So, if chaos exists in your way of working, it would get amplified by getting all these tools and AI into picture. It won't solve it. So, it's important that we we are all engineers. We apply the engineering mindset to solve the problem at hand. We can always change the tool, we can always change the technology. At the bottom line, the process has to be solidified first. The process itself should answer whether the process is built right, which you are trying to automate, which you are trying to agentize. Once that itself is correct, all other can fall into picture. Again, you would be evaluating whatever agents you are building or tools you are using to automate, whether it would be the right fit for you or not. Just having an MCP server plugged into your code or your MCP client and getting all those names in picture won't may show your solution look very glamorous as of now, but if it doesn't work for your end user, then putting money, getting all those experts won't help you solve it. You will have to go back again to the process of asking the question of why. Why was the need of getting an MCP server here? Why did we do it? What are we trying to solve by doing it? What was the need? Was it even necessary that we do it? So you have to keep on going back to those questions, those principles, where you try to empathize, where you try to ideate, build a prototype, implement it, test it. So if we keep that in mind and that mindset in our consciousness when we are building solutions, it would really help us. So there are some links and some courses which you can explore and try to, uh, look at them if you're dealing with these kinds of problems in your work, or something here can help you solve it. So with that, we have come to end of our presentations. I would like to thank you all for joining and listening to me. And if you have any questions, we have 5 minutes, we can do that.
Yeah, yeah. Any questions? Anybody would want to take any questions? Pallavi, can you elaborate a little more? So, how do you see the design thinking to get impacted with the agentic way coming into picture? Because the reasoning has started. So, do you see the future trend where the design thinking fundamental remains? People taking shortcuts and relying more on AI, or it's going to aid or it's going to replace?
I think it would amplify it. We would have a
Mm-hmm.
lot more data points to give
Mm-hmm.
to our agents, and we would also have a lot more data points because of agents to build uh, our solution for. Okay, we won't just have, because maybe this process of empathizing with the user actually involves you going and talking to the users. But with the help of logs and observability built in place, your agents itself, you will have a lot more data points where it would be easier for a machine with the intelligence we right now have built, or the algorithmic power which they have, to give you better information and another thought process. For example, we only saw we are three different people talking about the same problem. why there was no water supply. I had another story in my mind, entirely another, which you gave another explanation, Deepti gave another, and I did not even think about it. So with one extra hand, who who can think or reason with you uh, without getting tired, I think that's a benefit. That's an advantage we have, and we should exploit it as much as we can.
Great. Thank you, Pallavi, for answering that question. Any more questions? We just have 1 minute. Just if there are no questions, then I'll request Ashita to formally thank Pallavi for the insightful session.
Yes, yes, okay.
Yeah.
So, any questions?
No, I guess.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Just give me a second.
Sure. So
Sure.
thank you very much. I can say my thanks. Thank you very much, Ashita. Thank you, Harpreet, and thank you everyone who joined this session. And I hope you all continue to listen to the rest of the events and have a great time at the GTR Virtual Mode Conference. There would be a physical conference happening in Pune on December 14th. I'm sure almost all of you go and join and meet the brilliant team and each other and make the most of it. So thank you everyone
Thank you
for
so
joining
much,
us.
Yeah.
Pallavi,
Thanks.
for this insightful session.
Thanks a lot,
Yeah.
Pallavi Sharma, for your wonderful session.